Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation today. On this beautiful occasion, we would like to present our discussion related to our topic, the dilemmas and foundation in English language teaching. Before starting the presentation, let me introduce our group's member. First, Hadid Nur Rahim. Second, Hajrun. Next one is Hany Apriliani, and two last members are Romi Richardin and Yolanda. The idea of our discussions is taken from the Values in English Language Teaching by Bill Johnston. And for my part, I would like to talk about the fundamental moral dilemmas of ELT. Now let's move on to the first part. What is dilemma? A dilemma is when a person is forced to choose between two or more conflicting options, neither of which is acceptable. As we can see, the key is that the person has choices to make that will or have results she doesn't want. For example, a teacher faces a dilemma about one of his students is unable to complete an assignment. At the same time, he must help his father as farmer for their family living. So, does the teacher float the student on the grade or fail him for not completing his work? However, it must be noted that if a teacher is in a difficult situation but not forced to choose between two or more options, then the teacher is not in a dilemma. The least that we can say is that the teacher is just experiencing a problematic or distressful situations. Therefore, the most logical things to do for that teacher is to look for alternative or solutions to address the problem. When dilemmas involve human action which have moral implications, they are called moral dilemmas. Moral dilemmas are situations where persons who are called moral agents in ethics are forced to choose between two or more conflicting options, neither of which resolves the situation in a morally acceptable manner. When we connect the fundamental moral dilemma of ELT, we can have information that referred to Linsky in 2010. Teachers deal with many moral problems in their practice. They encounter inappropriate allocations of resources, situations in which pupils are being discussed inappropriately and irresponsible colleagues. When complex factors constrain teachers' sense of proper actions in educational practice, and decisions are made and carried out contrary to the right course, critical incidents involve ethical conflict and moral distress result. Therefore, in this topic, we would like to give some features of our subjects into three things. First, dilemmas of pedagogy, the dilemmas of teacher-student relations, and dilemmas of beliefs and values. To have a better understanding and know more specifically about those things, let our friends say a few words for their next presentation. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to the second part of this video. My name is Romi Richardin. So in this video, I will try to present to you about dilemmas of pedagogy. First of all, what is pedagogy? Pedagogy is the act of teaching. It is like how the teachers will the approach in teaching the context in the learning activities. It is also how like the social interaction between the students and the teacher, and also the influence from political beliefs from both parties, and the psychological development, like especially from the students in the learning activities, could affect the students' behavior. So, what is dilemma in pedagogy? The teacher will face many challenges in making their teaching activities plan. This includes like how they choose and manage the strategies that will be implemented later in order to achieve the learning objective. So, theoretical or practical? While theoretical gives the teachers more authority in the classroom, practical approach provides more chance towards students like to practice their language skill. By this, the students will have enough time, thus will like easily achieve the learning objective in the teaching activities provided by the teacher. So, teaching approach. In implementing your strategy, teachers should observe the students' behavior in the teaching process in order to give suitable assistance when students face difficulties in the learning activities. Like teachers need to listen to the students, encourage them to give their opinions, and while also teachers should accept feedback from the students and also try to evaluate their teaching strategies. So, how the teacher evaluate the students' achievement? In evaluating students' achievement, teachers need to consider the function in the assessments that will be implemented. Teachers can use three principles in assessing. First, assessment of learning. Second one, assessment for learning. And the third one, assessment as learning. So, what is the conclusion of dilemmas of pedagogy? The conclusion is planning the teaching activities should be shaped based on which styles of learning the teachers and students are comfortable with, while also still maintaining the purpose of the study process that is to achieve the objective in the learning activities. That's all for me. Thank you for your attention. The next part will be explained by Mr. Hadid.
So, well, thank you very much indeed for Mr. Romi's explanation regarding to our presentation today. So now I'm about to keep on the discussion about dilemmas of teacher-student relations. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's get started. Conceptually, dilemmas are conflicts in which there are multiple, equally viable alternatives, each of which has advantages and disadvantages based on Billig 1989. Other than a problem that can be solved, a dilemma cannot be fully resolved without leaving some residue. It is not just the prospect of particular loss which makes the choice from different options for action difficult. The dilemma arises from the difficulty of weighing the consequences of various options, which complicates choice. Teachers have to live with disadvantages of their choice afterward event, more discomfited by the unwanted outcomes, which can cause more stress. Based on Culinary 2015. It is important to note that dilemmas are subjective inasmuch as the advantages and disadvantages of similar options might be identified and valued differently. Hence, dilemmas require a choice between courses of action based on consideration of the perceived values of the advantages and disadvantages of the alternative choices. A dilemma is basically about handling a situation where there is often no one right way of acting, but according to Hany 1996, a way of acting for the best. Although teacher dilemmas are widely acknowledged as being central to teaching to our best knowledge, there is no research considering the dilemmas teachers experience when challenging students. Creating challenge is a crucial pedagogical mechanism for inducing students' motivation and fostering learning based on value 1960. An increased understanding of teaching considerations when choosing for or against maximum challenge may enable teachers to better manage and change their work and shed light on the competing values, beliefs, demands, and practical constraints that may complicate teaching. A previous study which had been conducted by Skager et al. 2012 showed that students reported the highest motivation and learning effects when challenge considerably exceed the level of ability. While these students reported maximum learning in periods of high challenge, an imbalance between perceived challenge and ability also induced feelings of worry and frustration. There was little difference in the way students responded to a high challenge. All of students reported to have learned the most when over challenge, and they all experienced negative emotion. Negative emotions such as stress and frustration can damage student motivation, based on Lindbrink 2006. Increasing challenge can accordingly be expected to generate dilemmas for teachers and creating a learning environment with an appropriate level of challenge for all students. In doing so, teachers typically also pursue non-academic objectives such as caring for well-being of individual students, developing a good learning climate, and developing a good relationship with students. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all about representation. Time is yours.
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hany Apriliani. Today I'm going to talk about dilemmas of beliefs and values in English language teaching. So, what is beliefs and values? Beliefs and values play a role in English language teaching or ELT, primarily concerning the role of the teacher. Every teacher has a set of values that determines how she or he handles the various situations which occur in the classroom. So it is impossible to teach without values. And beliefs, as mentioned by Richard in 1998, he defined teacher beliefs as to the information, attitudes, values, expectations, theories, and assumptions about teaching and learning that teachers build up over time and bring with them to the classroom. And there are some dilemmas of beliefs and values in English language teaching. For the first, in the politics aspect. For example, as mentioned in Johnson 2016, there is one potential approach to the problems that come with the politics of ELT, like critical pedagogy, which is defined as education that has social change as its desired outcome. And for example, there is a case faced by a teacher that he got a dilemma in the politics of ELT. He is required to use the national language, which is Indonesian, as a form of his nationality as a respect to his country. Even in several events such as seminar, he must use the national language too. But on the other hand, he must use English in teaching since English is an important thing to learn in this globalization era. This became a dilemma for him in this politics of ELT. And the second dilemma is in the personal faith. Religion plays a part in teacher identity for several reasons. The teacher personal beliefs do affect how they conduct their classes. And personal beliefs, as mentioned by Mambu in 2017, religious views have influenced the ways English language teachers serve their pedagogy. An ELT teacher should show respect and humility to students. And the third dilemma is in the tolerance. The third dilemma is tolerance, and tolerance is a great way of learning how we can incorporate more empathy and diversity in the classroom. For example, there is a case faced by an ELT teacher. There are some students who probably speak out of turn or act rudely, even when the teacher trying to create a safe space in the class, and the teacher tries to solve the problem by engaging with the students directly in a mindful and then non-judgmental way. He thought that it can bring more empathy in the classroom. And the fourth dilemma is in the professionalism. The issue of professionalism raised the question of how English language teachers see themselves, as well as how others see English language teachers. There is a case about professionalism from an English teacher. He said that when he taught ELT for the first time, he had a dilemma in terms of professionalism. He felt that he was not worthy, felt insecure about teaching ELT, and felt that the knowledge he had was not sufficient to teach ELT. However, he changed his mindset. He was determined to become a professional teacher by keep studying to improve knowledge and skills, to enrich experience, and do the best you can, and with what is given to you. Be proud of what you do. Showing pride for the profession may inspire others to join us and grow in the field. And he also wants to build the student positive character from the learning they got. And he is also want to or he also have his own way in teaching. It is based on classroom environment by considering their culture, their family background, their characters, and their English ability. So that's all my explanation, and the next explanation or material will be explained by Yolanda.
Okay everyone, let me continue to explain about search for foundations. Foundational issues in English language teaching. Actually, every teacher will have a different view of moral dilemmas of classroom life, but there are some foundational issues that must be acknowledged if we are first to understand moral counters and classroom in order to avoid moral paralysis in the face of uncertainty and ambiguity. The first is teacher has moral duty to examine values and beliefs. We have to consider it. It is about what is good and right for our learners. Teacher responsibility comes from the corresponding right to make decision about the values. As stated by the Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. The second, some actions are clearly more morally defensible than the others. The defensible than the others, sometimes we take or run the course in the right and the good way for the learners, but sometimes it's not. In this case, data said that the testing can draw what students do not know. And then it's telling about the key values. The key values in English language teaching that should be considered. The H said diversity, inquiry, cooperation, and will as the certain key values. And then added commitment to ourselves, commitment of our students, equity, caring, and dialogue as the fundamental values in pedagogical beliefs. And the last, about belief in the existence of moral absolutes and unconditional equality. Johnson said that the beliefs are shared by a great many teachers in English language teaching. Johnson believed that everyone is equal in the gender and races. We have the moral duty to understand it. Then, in respect to them, the Corpusy stated that the great teachers not focus on the compliance, but on connections and the relationship. Of course, it has the relationship between teacher and student relationship, where it is the moral foundation of teaching. Then, teacher-student relation is the unique one that must be treated. Then, whenever we meet the student, for example, in the classroom and our office or in another place, we are meeting with them about all as one human with another. And our treatment to them is as always the moral matter. And equity is the main value, so the student should be treated differently. We have to underline about equity is the main value. Then the last value and moral dilemmas between teacher and the students. For example, in his book, Johnson gave his experience about this topic. When Johnson students argue about the syllable in Chinese language, Johnson tried to convince his students that the student learn it by figuring some tasks that has been done by student. He asked the student to learn again about the topic that has been taught to him. Then after the student study again, then he aware that he have ever studied about it. And in this case, we can see there is collaboration between the student and the teacher in solving a problem. That is the key of language teaching, I think. And we go to the conclusion, and the last dilemmas itself are situations where the person are forced to choose between two or more conflicting options. The fundamental moral dilemmas deals with many problems among the teachers that involve ethical conflict and moral distress. Planning the teaching activities should be shaped based on which style of learning the teachers and the students are comfortable with in order to achieve the objective in the learning activities. Teachers may pursue non-academic objectives in creating learning environment. And last, teacher-student relation is moral foundation of teaching. I think that's all explanation from our group. Thank you for your attention. We do sorry for all the mistakes. We need any suggestion, critics to this topic, and we can learn it together. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.